Welcome to the Financial Freedom Show. If we take a moment and think about the meaning of freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without restraint, we recognize and respect the honorees of this Memorial Day. Thank you for supporting our mission to enlighten, encourage, and empower us to recognize and pursue what financial freedom means to each of us. Follow the life and financial strategies that keep others on the financial freedom road to becoming their best version and living their lives on their terms. True freedom. We have prepared an empowering hour for all of our viewers around the world. If you're here for the first time, my name is Dagmar Fleming, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Jessica Sheehan, author and COO of Thriving Women Network, streaming live from Oregon. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Dagmar. Great to be with you.
Jessica, who are we recognizing and honoring in our financial freedom stories today?
Yes. So, Dagmar, as we know, freedom is not free, and every person has to be willing to pay a price for their freedom. And we're recognizing 3 individuals that were willing to accept the price for freedom to live their lives on their terms. And what makes each of these people unique? They found their passion to help others. So our first story is Nicholas James Vujicic. And he was born with tetraamelia syndrome, which is a rare disorder characterized by the absence of arms and legs. Nick's mother refused to see him or hold him immediately after his birth. Instead, she and her husband left the hospital. He was bullied at school because of his medical condition. And at one point, he attempted to commit suicide by drowning himself, but he was saved and he found his passion and purpose. We're going to watch a brief clip now about him and to learn more about this topic, and we'll be right back.
My parents always said, Nick, you don't know what you can achieve until you try it. And the doctors looked at me and said, he's not going to walk, he's not going to go to school, he's not going to do anything in his life. And then my parents, they just loved me like crazy and said, you got to try. Try this, try that, try this, try that. And I'm thinking sometimes like, Mom and Dad, you're crazy, man. I have no arms, no legs. How would I ever be able to do this or do that? But they encouraged me and they loved me. And as human beings, we're waiting for stuff like that. We all want love. Everybody say love. Very good. The definition of tough means it's strong. To show your strength, you need to do something that's difficult. I would sound so stupid if I said, hey guys, I got a Matchbox car one day and I got some fishing line and I towed that Matchbox car all around all day. How tough is my BMW? That's stupid. I don't care if you end up being a janitor in this school. I'll tell you why. Because the janitor in my high school inspired me to be a speaker. He changed my life. He said, you should be a speaker. You know what I said? You're crazy. He said, no, really, you need to be a speaker. I said, stop it, man. 4 months later, he twisted my arm, and I said, yes. I spoke in front of 10 people, then another 10, then another 10, then I found myself in front of 300 sophomore students. And 3 minutes into my speech, half the girls were crying, and one girl in the middle of the room started weeping, and she put up her hand and she said, I'm so sorry, can I come up there and give you a hug? And in front of everybody, she came up and she hugged me and she cried on my shoulder and she whispered in this ear, thank you, thank you, thank you. No one's ever told me that they love me. No one's ever told me that I'm beautiful the way that I am. It was because my parents told me that I was beautiful that I'm still here. Some of you don't have those parents, and that's why I'm here. I love you, and you're beautiful just the way you are. Never, ever give up.
You are perfect just the way you are. That's right. So, Dagmar, as you may or may not know, Vic is married with 2 sons and 2 daughters, and the family resides in Southern California. He travels the world as a keynote speaker and author of Life Without Limits, several books that he has written, including Limitless, Devotions for a Ridiculously Good Life, Unstoppable, The Incredible Power of Faith in Action, The Power of Unstoppable Faith, Stand Strong, Love Without Limits, Be the Hands and Feet, Living Out God's Love for All His Children. And Vic's freedom story is a testament to resilience, faith, and works. Now, Dagmar, as we know, not every freedom story has a happy ending, especially when they're suffering from mental illness. In honor of May's Mental Illness Month, who are we recognizing that has had financial freedom, but maybe not health freedom?
Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the mission is to address the many challenges that face millions of people around the world living with mental health conditions. So throughout this month, organizations actively participate in this national movement dedicated to eradicating stigmas, extending support, fostering public education, and advocating for policies that prioritize the well-being of individuals and families who are affected by mental illness. And we're doing our part by amplifying people that suffer in silence and sometimes, unfortunately, to their death. So today we are recognizing Howard Hughes Jr., aerospace engineer, producer, investor, philanthropist, and pilot. He gained fame in Hollywood in 1920s when he produced big budget films such as The Rocket, Hell's Angels, and Scarface. Howard was known during his lifetime as one of the richest and most influential people in the world. Unfortunately, after a near-fatal plane crash, he was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder and chronic pain. So let's listen to this interview that encourages us to check in on our family and friends.
Hughes descended into one of the most bizarre episodes of his life. In December 1957, he told his personal aides that he wanted to screen some movies at a nearby studio called Nossex on Sunset Boulevard. Hughes stayed in the darkened screening room for more than 4 months, never leaving. He used a telephone to conduct business and ate a diet of chocolate bars and milk. But most of the time, he just sat in his own chair, often naked, watching movies, reel after reel, day after day. Hughes issued strict orders to his aides, writing instructions on yellow legal tablets. Do not look at him, do not speak to him, only respond when spoken to. Around Hughes were dozens of boxes of Kleenex, which he continuously stacked and rearranged.
There's a famous memo he wrote. It was called the Kleenex Directive. And it was a lengthy memo on how to use Kleenex to protect yourself from germs. And you're supposed to use 8 to 10 thicknesses of Kleenex in order to open a doorknob, for instance.
As his stay at Nossex stretched into months, Hughes relied more and more on his painkillers. His personal hygiene deteriorated rapidly. But at the same time, he became more and more obsessed with avoiding germs. All manifestations of obsessive-compulsive disorder. After 4 months, Hughes finally emerged from the screening room in the spring of 1958. By then, his clothes were soiled and ragged. He hadn't bathed or shaved for months. He was a mess. The once charismatic public figure had become a pathetic recluse.
It has been surmised that what happened at Nossex was Hughes was having a massive nervous breakdown, but he didn't want to tell anybody, so he kind of, in a way, created his own asylum.
After leaving the screening room, Hughes checked into the Beverly Hills Hotel, where he lived in a bungalow for the next few years. He also rented many other rooms for his aides, wife, and various girlfriends.
1 year, I figured he spent $11 million at that hotel. Imagine.
At the hotel, Hughes relapsed into his screening room habits, sitting naked in the dark, covered only by a strategically placed pink hotel napkin. But even as his behavior grew stranger, Hughes somehow kept control of his amazing empire.
Well, Jessica, what an unfortunate story. It turns out that with all the wealth that Howard accumulated, he nor his lawyers actually had a properly executed estate plan. And it's similar to singer and songwriter Aretha Franklin. Howard had only a handwritten will that was found on the desk. The so-called Mormon will gave $1.56 billion to various charitable organizations, including $625 million to the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, nearly $470 million to the upper management in Hughes companies and to his aides, $156 million to first cousin William Lummis, and $156 million split equally between his two ex-wives, Ella Rice and Jean Peters. Nevertheless, due to him not having any estate plan, Howard Hughes' $2.5 billion estate was divided in 1983 among his 22 cousins. Another reason for this is because Howard was divorced and had no children. So, Jessica, Howard's story is a great pivot to today's life and financial strategy.
Yes, and in fact, our transformational life strategy will be enlightened on the question, should I focus on paying off my mortgage or investing in stocks and real estate? And we invited Tosin Ajose, lawyer, partner of Deal HQ Partners, speaker and venture capitalist, to share her freedom story and perspective on this question. So we'll see more on that later with her.
Wonderful. And in our financial strategy segment, we will be encouraged to retain a tax accountant, not only for personal needs, but also for business. So we invited Alma Torelli, tax accountant, money mindset strategist, to share her freedom story and perspective on why we need a financial estate and last will and testimony. So Jessica, what were your struggles on today's life and financial strategies?
Yes. So with the stock market values at an all-time high, some may question, should I focus on paying off my mortgage or investing in stocks and real estate? Now, during our YouTube break, we're going to listen to one perspective, which strategy is a priority. And as a reminder to all of our viewers, Financial Freedom is sponsored by the Pivot Point online program for financial coaches. If you're ready to pivot to entrepreneurship as a financial coach, they offer free online courses to help you get your state license and certifications. You can visit the website and learn more about the home-based business opportunity. And we are going to watch this clip now, and we'll be right back.
If you're a homeowner or even a car owner, odds are you took out a loan, just like so many people do. Don't get me wrong, debt is not always a bad thing. But with all the headlines about the stock market's recent performance, you might be wondering if you should invest some money instead of paying down your debt faster than your minimum payment alone. Hi, my name is Alex Langevin, and today I will not only show you how to approach the dilemma of investing versus reducing your debts, but I will also give you advice that applies to pretty much everyone. So make sure to watch till the end. Nobody wants to have a mortgage for the rest of their lives. The goal is to ultimately own your home debt-free. However, with mortgage rates today hovering about 3 or 4%, and even lower, they are nowhere near the 10 or even 15% they once were. So let's look at an example. If you manage to have an extra $500 per month, and have 20 years left to pay your $250,000 mortgage at 3% interest, should you use that $500 to pay down your mortgage or invest it in the stock market? Your first option, if you use that extra $500 per month and put it towards your mortgage, you will ultimately save about $28,000 in interest while paying it back in 13 and a half years, which means 6.5 years faster. On the other hand, the second option is to choose to invest that $500 per month over those same 13 and a half years. Looking at the market's return over the past 100 years, you could earn an average of 9% per year if you leave your money invested for the long run. Therefore, if we use that 9% rate, at the end of that period, you would end up with just over $155,000. As I mentioned in my previous video on how investment income is taxed in Canada, you would probably get taxed on your gains, but you would still come out way ahead. With that example, we can easily see why it's typically better to put your money where it will give you a higher expected rate of return. Since the long-term market return has been better than the mortgage rates for a while now, investing makes more sense if we only look at the numbers. The downside is the fact that the market does not always perform as expected, which means you need to be able to stomach bad periods. There is also a question of discipline. Putting more money on your mortgage is usually a better way to stay disciplined, since it forces you to save your money in a place that is not as easily accessible. If you choose to invest, you really should set up automatic transfers, or you will be tempted to spend the money instead of investing it. Now, let's pause and go back to the current level of mortgage rates. As I mentioned, in Canada, you can currently get 7-year or 10-year fixed close rates below 3%. I cannot stress enough how low that is. If you are my age, you might be too young to realize how high the rates once were. But people in their 50s or 60s surely remember the 15% interest rates. This means rates are a full 12% lower. So, if you can renegotiate and lock in your rate at 3% and below, you should do so right now. I cannot predict the future, and it is possible that rates continue to fall. But there is a much bigger chance that the rates start to rise rather than go down much more. Don't be greedy and take that bird in your hand instead of trying to get the two in the bush. From a purely financial perspective, it is usually better to put your money where the return will be higher, but do not forget that we, humans, are greedy creatures, and that the FOMO, the fear of missing out, sadly does not only apply to social media. Instead of running after higher returns, being comfortable with your financial situation and trying to avoid uncertainty is always a good decision. Be smart about your investments and don't hesitate to consult your advisor if you need a recommendation that is suitable for your situation. Thanks for watching. For more investment tips, visit our website at clara.ca or get in touch.
Welcome back. Welcome to our business strategy segment. If you're just joining us, I'm Debbie Weaver Rochel with my co-host, Jessica Sheehan. Our mission is to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to embrace financial literacy and strategies. If you're just tuning into the show, today's financial strategy question is, should I pay off my mortgage or invest that money in stocks and real estate? We are excited to have Tosin Ajose, business lawyer partner at Deal HQ Partners, speaker and venture capital enthusiast. She is known for her savvy analytical skills, vast transactional experience, and relentless desire to add value to her customers. Tosin is a leader in the finance, real estate, construction, and capital market space and holds several speaking engagements annually within and outside the legal industry. In 2019, she was awarded the Africa Woman in Real Estate and ranked leading lawyer in capital markets and financial restructuring, and a board member of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria. Tosin, welcome.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be here and join this conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, we'd like to start out every interview with the question, what does financial freedom mean to you? And how has that meaning evolved over the years?
Oh, interesting that you say that. I think financial freedom means being able to meet one's immediate needs, being able to have assurances of meeting your needs in the future, and most importantly, being able to reach out and be a blessing to other people. And I think that this has this has changed for me over time. As a young lady, it meant being able to meet my immediate needs and have fair assurances that I could not only meet my immediate needs, but I could also meet my future needs. As one transitioned from being a young lady into having responsibilities as a mother, it meant having the capacity to meet my needs, the needs of my family, and people that are within my circle of influence or my immediate constituents. As I've grown in my career, it has meant being able to meet my immediate needs, the needs of my family, and my growing constituency, and also being able to meet future needs and having the assurances that I can meet the future needs of these people. And right now, my constituency is not just family, my work consistent my work constituency, and even the bigger constituency, uh, the bigger constituency where you have, women. And I have a very strong passion for supporting women in Nigeria, women in Africa, and women across the world. So helping every one of these people within this constituency achieve financial freedom, that is freedom for me as a person.
Well, so many of us are not taught by our teachers and our parents about financial literacy. So, when were you introduced to it, and how did that impact you?
Very interesting that you asked, Debbie. Let me tell you a little backstory about myself. So I grew up in one of the suburbs of Lagos in Nigeria. I don't know how much you know about Nigeria or Africa. And I grew up always trying to resolve some conflict in my mind about where my family stood financially. I could never really understand whether we were rich, we were poor, or we were just getting by. It was funny because we lived in a very below middle class community, and a lot of people around me did not have enough. They didn't have financial freedom. And I saw my parents being responsible for much more than their own immediate family. There was always someone in that community that needed something that we had. My mom, I saw her feed children in the community, and some people will go to bed without a decent meal if she didn't provide for them. All our clothes had people waiting in line to be handed down, all our toys and all of those kinds of things. So I always had a very high hypersensitivity to financial freedom because I knew from such a young age what it meant to have people depending on you. So I would say from maybe about the age of 5, financial freedom and the ability to meet the needs of people around me had always been so ingrained in my consciousness.
Did you have any fears that you needed to overcome bad financial habits? Did you develop anything like that?
Yes, I would say that I did. So I remember that, as a young child, I used to daydream a lot. And that was a very big blessing because I created the life that I wanted in my dreams. I'm writing a book now about my life, and a lot of these things are going to feature. I used to dream a lot. I used to, try to upturn the things about our experiences at the time that I didn't like. So I would dream about myself being, some Oprah Winfrey of Africa, as far back as when I was like age 7, and I'm hosting talk shows. I would see myself, as a woman leader, just addressing a community of women and giving direction about progress as a nation and all of that. And I think that some of those things made me realize that it was important to be financially empowered. So I desired it from when I was very, very young because I knew what it meant, what it meant to go without having financial access to education, to a decent home, to a decent meal. I was very lucky that I always attended schools where they were for the very rich and affluent. So I got the opportunity to mix with a lot of children from very affluent homes. But like I said, the neighborhood where I lived as a child, we had a lot of people whose realities were completely different from mine. Though my parents were, they were financially stable and they were able to provide for us, but there were so many people around me that were living in what we would call below the poverty line. And that, heightened my sensitivity and made me very determined to ensure that I lived a life that was meaningful. I was able to give back to people, and I had more than enough to support myself, my family, and people around me.
Mm, mm. Now, Tosin, I want to thank you again for being with us, and I get to jump in and ask you some questions as well. Before I do that, I wanted to give you a chance. Can you say your name for us so that we make sure that it's being pronounced correctly on our show?
My name is Tosin.
Tosin.
Ajose. Tosin Ajose.
Ajose.
Tosin Ajose.
Ajose. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned writing a book. Now, when did you first realize that reading financial and business type books was essential to building confidence to begin investing in stocks and getting into real estate?
I'd say from high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe about grade 8, year 8 or thereabout. Yes, maybe like year 8 or thereabout. But I told you I've always had a heightened sense of awareness about financial matters. So guess what? I started my first business when I was about 13. I ran several businesses while I was in college.
Uh-huh.
I finished school and I really did want to do business. It was not until I started my law career that I gave entrepreneurship some kind of a break. And guess what? Even in that time, I always had small businesses going on. There was one thing or the other I was doing to get extra income to ensure that, I was securing my future. I've always been heavy with investments. So again, I grew up in a family where my parents taught us how it was important to turn a dime into a dollar, how it was important out of every cent you had to put something aside. So I've always known to read and to continue to hone my skills about investments, about business, about finances, and all of that. I've not always done it right, don't get me wrong. And sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I lose money. Sometimes I make careless investments. But I've always known that it was important to continue to forge forward and improve my financial status for my own benefit and the people around me.
Absolutely. And we have just a few more minutes here, Tosin. So I wanted to hear about your book, Navigating Through Human Experience and Addicted to Bliss. What was your chapter title? What was the message to readers contained there?
Okay, I think that the title of the book has not been revealed. I'm not sure that you have it yet.
For your new book, you're speaking about your new book, you don't have a title yet.
Yes. So it's a memoir.
Okay.
It's a memoir that I'm writing, and basically it's talking about my life and the view of the world from the eye of a young African girl. And it allows people to travel this journey with me and just understand what it is like to be a young girl from some side of Africa that is trying to make impact in the world. And so I'm hoping that people get to learn what it is like, to live my kind of life, the challenges and the difficulties that I've had to go through, how I've overcome some of them, and why there's such a compelling need for me to support other women.
Okay. And do you have an idea of when that book will be out then, Tosin?
I think perhaps early next year.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I apologize that I had the wrong title associated with you, so I apologize about that. But would you tell us, would you focus on paying off a mortgage versus investing in stocks? What's your take on that?
So I think the question is a bit nuanced. It's not as straightforward to say a yes or a no.
Yeah.
It would depend on the circumstances. It would depend on what stage, that mortgage is at. It will depend on the quality of life that I want at the time. It will also depend on the nature of the investment, the returns, and how it impacts the quality of life that I live. As you know, I'm a lawyer and I'm a real estate lawyer. It's one of the things that I do. I'm a commercial lawyer that has some expertise in real estate. So I won't pay down the mortgage unless there's a compelling reason to. I will stick to the payment unless there is a justification for turning those funds into that direction. For me, it's investment any day unless the returns are not sufficient to match the interest rates I'm paying on the mortgage. That's what will determine primarily what I would do in that situation.
Great. Well, Tosin, with all your accolades, what brings you the most joy and freedom?
What brings me the most joy is when I see that I am able to put smile on the faces of people. So, for instance, last year I clocked 40 towards the end of last year. And one of the things that I chose to do was to raise funds for 40 children in Nigeria living with cerebral palsy. And we supported them with medical intervention, with therapy, physiotherapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. And that ran a course of about 6 months. The parents did not have to do anything out of pocket for those children in the 6 months. It's extremely difficult to live with children with disability. And it's shell shocking the level of pressure that it puts on their caregivers, particularly the women, the mothers. And I have never been that happy and joyful in my life like I was the day we had a party for those 40 children, and they sat around my office and I was able to take pictures with them, just enjoy some time with them and give them gifts and give them, this little token to make life easier for their caregivers. That was an extremely, extremely joyful period for me. So anytime I have the chance or the opportunity to put a smile on the face of another person, another human being, that is what gives me the absolute greatest joy.
Well, that's so true. There's no better feeling than making somebody else happy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love hearing that. We would love for you to post your contact information in our private Facebook group. It's called Thriving Women TV. If you have additional comments for Tosin, please join our Facebook group and post a comment or question on today's show. And later in the show, we will ask Tosin to share a client freedom story with us.
Absolutely. And when we come back from our break, we'll meet money mentor Alma Torelli. And during our YouTube break, we will share a perspective on the question, what is a tax accountant and should I retain them for my personal or business tax needs? So we want to thank all of our viewers for being here with us, however and wherever you're watching. And Financial Freedom is sponsored by Pivot Point Online Program for financial coaches. So if you are ready to pivot to entrepreneurship as a financial coach, they offer free online courses to help you get your state license and certifications. So you can visit the website and learn more about how being that home-based business opportunity. We'll be right back.
Should you hire an accountant to do your taxes if you have a job? Hell yeah. And here's why. The tax laws change all the time, and it's impossible for us to keep up with the tax changes. And if we don't know the current tax regulations, we're either paying too much money in taxes or we might be breaking the law by accident. And we know that ignorance of the laws is no excuse. So What about using software products or websites to file your taxes? Well, doing that is like relying on WebMD.com to help you do self-surgery or not hiring a lawyer at a trial. And I know those are very extreme comparisons, but I care, which is why I mention it. So how do you find a great accountant that can save you a lot of money and keep you out of trouble? Well, there's no Yelp for accountants. And the only way to find a great accountant is to ask your successful friends or older relatives or coworkers to introduce you to their accountant. And they're going to say yes, of course, because they know that if they get their accountant more customers, then of course their accountant's going to take better care of them. And I also recommend only doing this, meaning finding a new accountant, at least 9 months before taxes are due. Because it's impossible for accountants to accept any new clients around tax season. Separately, if you own a company, I highly recommend getting the same accountant to file your personal and your business taxes, just in case you accidentally charge a personal expense to your business. And what I do is I keep my work and my personal taxes and finances separate, to the extent that I have a credit card only for business and I have a credit card only for personal stuff. And my accountant reviews both of these when filing my taxes. And another great thing about having an accountant file your taxes for you is if you're considering investing in something, and before you do invest in that thing, you call your accountant and say, hey, I'm about to make this investment. Can it go into my retirement tax savings account? And the accountant might say, yes. However, you need to invest from your retirement account, as it's impossible to move that investment to your retirement account after you've made the investment. And your accountant might also tell you that they might stop you actually from making that investment for certain tax or liquidity reasons. And so in summary, hiring an accountant and eventually a tax lawyer once you make your fortune are superb investments that pay off big times in terms of, number one, letting you hopefully and legally pay less in taxes. And number two, it helps you stay out of trouble, as again, ignorance of the tax laws is no excuse. And I say all of this because I care.
Welcome to our business strategy segment. Our mission is to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to embrace financial literacy and strategies. Today's life transformation strategy question is, do I need a tax accountant? So we are very excited to have with us today Alma Torelli, who's a money mindset strategist, author, speaker, and tax accountant right here in our studio. Her mission is to help women master their money. She delivers money wisdom, mindset tools, investment strategies, so we can break through our money ceilings, reduce financial fear, detach from the old money story, and increase our income while saving money in our taxes. Her belief is that money is a tool, a form of energy that allows us to see our situation from a new perspective so we can step into our full financial power and thrive. So, Alma, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Dagmar and Jessica. It's so good to be here.
Wonderful. Well, we always like to start the interview with the question, what does financial freedom mean to you? And how has this meaning possibly evolved over the years?
Financial freedom is having enough, in short, having enough income, saving, investments to the life that you want to live without relying on a traditional job. This is the bottom line. We are all looking for freedom. This is financial freedom to me.
Wonderful. And I know your beginnings were pretty tough. We are both coming from ex-communist countries. So what fears did you need to overcome in your culture and country?
Such a great question. So many, Dagmar, and we probably need 3 days long of the show to mention all of them. I was raised and grew up in Albania under a communism system, and my family was oppressed particularly, and we lived in fear, not only for the financial aspect. We lived in a fear of survival. And so when you live in fear of survival, building wealth or topics about money, it's way out of the range. So we lived in fear of surviving at the time. And it is the way I grew up that when I moved to Canada and started working, that I saw that most of the time it is our belief around money. People struggle about wealth, money in general. And it comes down to three. These are the three most important aspects. First of all is the verbal programming that we adapted since childhood, especially the first 7 years of our life. The second one is modeling. And the third one is high impact emotional experience. And I'll explain what each category is and means. So verbal programming, the first one, is the program that we get from our family, from media, from teachers. And all I heard growing up is that money is bad, money is the root of all evil. And I'll tell you, it's not even funny. Show me one show or movie from the Hollywood that doesn't portray the rich the way I have seen it, at least. That it's like a big guy with probably a cigar that is mean, right? So that is the idea that I had of a rich person. And it is, yeah, right? So when I started working and I would have clients come to my office and see wealthy clients, and I have a cute couple, they're my clients for 20 years now, and they're in 90s. And the guy is a short guy, very generous, and very good people. These were some of my first clients. And I'm like, the picture that I have in the head, it does not resonate. People are not evil and mean the way we have learned during the childhood. So the television have done quite a bit of damage. Robin Hood or other characters, with all due respect to the movie production industry, have done quite a bit of damage. I have to agree with the speaker before, Osin. She mentioned that growing up, she did not have like the financial literacy. How do we learn it? The school we go, we don't learn the more basic things in our life. We don't learn how to survive. We don't learn about money or anything. So we didn't learn that in school. It is really hard for people, if you don't learn it in school or from very young age, it is really hard to know what it is, how to create wealth and finance around. So this is the first, one of the most important aspects, verbal programming. And it's really hard. People struggle to this day because it's really hard to deprogram, right? If you have been programmed for 4 decades, how are you going to embrace the wealth that comes to you? This is the first one, verbal programming. And the second one is modeling. Usually the person that we are more connected to impacts us a lot, like the mother or the father figure or any other authoritative person in our life. And the last one, high emotional impact experiences, are when something drastic happened, divorces, alcoholism in the family. These are experiences that leave us in a very deep trouble and program our mind for failure.
Mm-hmm. And you're mentioning that coming to Canada and really working through all that programming. So how did change in your environment help you find your purpose, your passion for helping others remove their money blocks?
I moved in Canada 23 years ago, and I have noticed that all the old programming that I had, I carried with me. I still, even though I study hard, went to school, started I started working for Canada Revenue Agency I worked for 3 years, and then I worked for different CPA office. It didn't mean anything, even though I'm an accountant in the beginning. It didn't mean that I know much about financial freedom, since we're in the topic. Even though you're an accountant, you know how to file other people's taxes. Doesn't mean that you have the capacity to work with assets and all that. And I noticed lots of accountants in my industry, we know how to prepare other people's taxes, not necessarily translates into financial literacy. And so what I did, Dagmar, is that I observed the 3 different types of clients that I had. I have poor mindset clients, I have moderate mindset, and I have a prosperity mindset. And I noticed that there is a huge distinct between the 3 classes in lifestyle, in goals, in decision making, and behavior. Like you could tell right away, someone comes in the office, if they start complaining about the weather, how much taxes they have to pay, how bad it is, how mean my family is to me, you know that we are not dealing with a success mindset here, right? And you see another client comes and they talk about the best experiences they have, and you know, right, that there is a huge change. I had 2 clients exactly in the same situation, both of them in bankruptcy. One of them, after 6 months, recovers, build another business bigger than the first one, and the other client never recovered. Not only loses the business, but loses the wife, loses everything. Where is the difference? It is in the mindset. He lived in the past, he never recovered from that, and the insecurity and the fear made him lose everything. So that's why from being a tax accountant, I shifted, because I wanted to help the clients to see the blind spot that I had in me growing up. And that's why I'm passionate helping, especially small businesses, because small businesses, I will tell you an interesting fact. From my experience, I know that 95% of small businesses never reach $1 million. And when I did the research, I'm like, wow, that's why they're called small business, first of all, but also because the small businesses, it's not the person who has a small business, it's not a business owner, in my opinion. No offense to anyone. I was a small business before. It's a business operator, because the person tried to do everything: the social media, the secretary, the emails, and then some sales, some production. And so that's why they don't categorize themselves as growing, first of all, and embracing a success.
Yes. They're trying to wear too many hats. Yeah. And we have just a little bit of time left, Alma. And so I wanted to ask you about, what are your thoughts on why it's important? What would you tell our viewers as far as why do they need to retain financial coaches and tax accountants? Please give us your input there.
See, even myself, I also had mentors for different reasons. And I also worked with Dagmar. Here's the thing. When you have a block in you, it's like you're having the block here. You are not going to be able to see it. You have to distance yourself, and then you can see it. How can you do it? Can a surgeon do an operation on his own heart? Basically, can a surgeon do an operation on his own heart? He can't. You need someone else, right? So that's exactly how it is. People, they struggle, they do all the financial decisions and all that. And then once they hire a coach, then they fly, or a mentor, they fly. I had a client of mine 2 weeks ago. He's young, in my daughter's age, actually, very hardworking person. And I said, why don't you start a business on the side? But I don't know, I'm scared, this and that. Just start a business. He calls me, he's like, I don't know how to thank you. I already start having customers. Because once you start a small business, you have an opportunity to all the expenses to put them, and you pay less taxes, right? And that's why you need someone else to see the block. You cannot do the operation on your heart. No, right? So
Very important point, Alma, and we appreciate how you're really highlighting the fact that these money blocks have to be addressed if we want to step into the financial freedom. So, Alma, we would love for you to post your contact information in our private Facebook group called Thriving Women TV. And if you have additional questions for Alma, then join our Facebook group and post a comment on our show today. When we come back, to see you share a client's financial freedom story. During
Thank
our
you.
break, yes, thank you,
so
Alma.
much, Dagmar, for having me.
During our break, we will hear Lisa Nichols' financial freedom story. Lisa is a motivational speaker and founder of Motivating the Masses, a global platform serving nearly 80 million people. Her journey started from a struggling single parent on public assistance to a thriving entrepreneur. Lisa's story of courage and determination has inspired fans worldwide and helped countless audiences break through to discover their own untapped talents and indefinite potential. Financial Freedom is sponsored by the Pivot Point online program for financial coaches. If you are ready to pivot to entrepreneurship as a financial coach, they offer 3 online courses to help you get your state license and certification. So visit our website and learn more about our home-based business opportunity. Thank you.
In my perceivingly worst relationship, where my fiance picked me up and threw me 3 feet across the room and choked me until I passed out, when I can figure out the purpose of that relationship, now I can bring Lisa 100% fully forth so that my next doesn't pay for my ex. Because until you are complete and whole in some of those answers, you're trying to avoid them in the future until you can be whole and complete with them. It's purposeful. Any relationship you're no longer in is either purposeful or life-giving. Figure out which one and figure out what it gave you. What life did it give you? What purpose did it fulfill? And then move on into your breathtaking future. That someone's gonna cross your path tomorrow, next week, next year, and they need the love that you have. But in order for them to get it, you need to fill your cup up and you need to be in overflow, because you can't love them from your cup. You gotta always love them from your saucer. Yes, because when you love them from your saucer, you never ever run out. You never love on an empty tank. Love never hurts. A lot of times when love is hurting, it's because you haven't given you everything you need yet. And you're trying to give other people what you still need. You're trying to give them your oxygen, which is why you're sitting around going, hurry up. I never made it to Broadway, so this is my best damn stage. So recognizing that when you love from your overflow, that's the most responsible thing that you could do. And that the greatest love that you can ever give the world is the demonstration of what loving you looks like. She can give herself 1,000 second chances, then I can give myself one more. And if he can give himself another chance, if he can get up after that financial fall, if he can get up after that divorce, if she can get up after that breakup, if he can get back up after having to leave his children, if she can get back up after having that child, and she can define herself, then what can I do? And so your demonstration of how madly in love with you are helps me to recognize how madly in love with me I get to be. And then when I love myself enough, then all my extra just oozes over onto you. And when you let your light shine like that, because you've fallen in love with you, all of a sudden you get in the corner and that light for a moment brightens up someone's momentary darkness. And then you've been a blessing to someone else. Humanity starts with somebody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Lisa Nichols is one of my favorite motivational
love
speakers. She has such a huge heart, and just that fire and passion that she brings, amazing. So welcome back, and we are going to do our financial freedom call to action segment now. Our mission, as you know, if you watch our show, is to enlighten, encourage, and empower us to embrace our financial literacy and strategies to begin the journey to finding our passion, our life purpose, and our life on our terms. So we're very honored to have Tosin Ajose and Alma Torelli in the studio to help us and to continue the financial freedom journey and conversations by sharing their client stories and what it is that they have as far as their own freedom story. So we are going to take just a little bit of time and hear from each of them. Okay, so let's have Tosin, will you share with us your freedom story?
Okay, thank you so much for still having me here. And I'm just wondering, am I your first guest out of Africa?
You know, I'm not sure if you are on this show. We do actually have one of our co-hosts on another show that is out of Africa, that is in South Africa in Johannesburg. But we are
Amazing.
very excited to have international guests with us today. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So the reason why I said was to set the background for what I would call my financial freedom story. So I've had a very rewarding career as a lawyer. I work on the corporate commercial side. I do work in finance, M&A, real estate and construction, energy, and technology. But the legal practice that has rewarded me the most in my time as a lawyer has been the real estate practice. And so, it's not only rewarded me, with opportunities and platforms, it's also rewarded me in terms of financial returns. So one of the things that I've consistently done as I map my journey to wealth and financial freedom is to have, significant portfolio in that space. And of course, because I work in real estate, it's also been very helpful for me to model the part. When you were introducing me, you had mentioned that in 2019, I was named Africa Woman in Real Estate. And so I started out 2 years after that, asking myself, what's the purpose? How am I going to, reach out to other women to support them? And it clicked to me that there's no financial freedom if women are not building wealth in one of the most secure and assured asset classes, which is real estate. And in 2021, I made a conscious decision to say I wanted to support African women to build wealth by understanding, by getting help navigating investment in real estate. And so we started a community of women that is called WWR, which is Women, Wealth, and Real Estate. And basically, our focus is to attack the barriers that make it difficult for women to enter the real estate investing journey. And what are these barriers? Access to information, access to markets, and access to finance. So we started up a community where myself and a lot of other women who are thought shapers and thought leaders in Africa's real estate community and build sector began to provide a platform for women to understand and to start their journey. Sometimes we're encouraging women to invest together. Sometimes we're encouraging women to say, this is the information you need to know. This is the how. These are the opportunities that are available in the market. And some other times we are saying to them, this is what you need to do, and this is what you shouldn't be doing. And it's been 3 years of this interesting and rewarding journey, and I am happy that we are supporting women one person at a time and getting them on the investment ladder and the wealth ladder. And that has been, really, really instructive. In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to have our major conference for 2024, where we are having over 17 women thought leaders. And for the first time, we are having guests that are joining us from, the rest of Africa. And we even have women from North America that are playing strongly in real estate, coming to lend their voice to this small idea and this vision that started just a few years back, and saying, We like what you guys are doing. We want to support you, we want to provide perspective, because guess what? This journey to financial freedom has many verticals, and we need to be connecting the verticals. Whether it is women in North America, whether it is women in the Southern American countries, whether it is women in Africa, a lot of times the challenges are the same. And so we must give ourselves opportunity to win by connecting ourselves, connecting the verticals, connecting to opportunities, connecting to people, and understanding that that is how we win. So for me, this is my financial freedom story. I'm committed and heavily invested in supporting women to win the parity war, to win in terms of access, to win in terms of supporting and building viable communities that helps us build wealth. I don't want to know a single woman who is not empowered, or a single woman who is not able to have assurance of meeting her needs, the needs of her family, now and also in the future. That's my financial freedom story, and I hope it inspires somebody.
Thank you so much, Tassine. And we're literally out of time. So Alma, we would like to bring you for just quick thoughts on your empowerment of women towards financial freedom.
It is really important that each and everyone, not only women, people all over the world, they educate themselves about the finance. It's not about having money. People have to understand that having money makes you be more free. And talking about financial freedom that we are talking about, having that freedom, it will make you do good things in the world. Not only keeping money for yourself. You make more money, you give more. That's the bottom line. You do what you love, and you also help others. And I'm passionate helping women and also small businesses, because it comes down to that. Find your passion and help other people. We are not going to take anything with us from this world. We're not going to take the money in the grave with us. We do it, we recirculate, we help other people. My story, it's a phenomenal story in the sense that I came from a very poor country and family, and I'm thriving right now. And this was enough for me to teach other people to do what I did with myself.
Wonderful. Well, Alma and Tassine, you're very powerful women. Your stories are quite an inspiration. So we would like to invite both of you to post your contact information in our private Facebook group called Thriving Women TV. And for our viewers, if you have additional questions for Alma or Tassine, make sure to join our Facebook group and post your comments there.
We encourage you to add to your financial library the finance code and self-awareness leader, and begin your journey to living your dreams. Tune in to Behind the Music today at 2 Eastern, streaming on Thriving Women TV and E360 TV. Financial Freedom Show is sponsored by the Thriving Women Network, a franchise media network for content creators and media producers. TWN provides the media training, coaching, and mentoring to produce your own franchise show. Visit our website at thrivingwomennetwork.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Debbie Weaver Rochelle.
And I'm Dagmar Fleming. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.